Okay, first off, I am sorry about my Pokemon anime journey saying part 5 instead of part 6 in the last video. Anyway, I know you're excited for this, so let's get started. Without further ado, let's walk into my Pokemon anime journey part 7. With Omega having all 8 badges, he decided to train in a town called Pacific Lock Town. After traveling there on a ship, as well as riding Wolverine, he stopped on a few islands, one of them being Dodo Island, where the island had been built by Dawn fans. Omega decided that would be a good place to train for a bit, so Omega decided to do some training with along with the island inhabited of Dawn fans. 2 days has passed on the island, and Omega decided to continue on his journey to Driftlock Island to switch out his team. He switched out Absol for Snorlax and Blayloon for Camelot. Unfortunately, Omega Snorlax didn't do a lot of fighting. After staying at the Pokemon Center, he asked Nurse Joy on what to do. Nurse Joy said he can go to the island where a ton of berries are to make a special Pokeblock for Snorlax. So after riding on Wolverine, Omega ride on the island. Before leaving, he asked for the recipe from O, and thanks to him, Omega was able to make a Pokeblock for Snorlax so he can train him ready for the Ever Grande Conference. While Omega trained his Snorlax, he learned Protect by forgetting Rest. After 4 days training his team, Omega went to Ever Grande City and entered the Ever Grande Conference. And just like in the anime, Team Rocket tried to steal the torch of Moltres' flame. While stealing the torch of Moltres' flame, Omega meets with Ash and his friends, as well as their new friend that they just met, named Tyson. One day at the preliminaries, it's a one-on-one. Omega battles against a boat-catching trainer and his ninja, while Omega chooses Sceptile. While in this shell is very hard, which gives it strong defense, but thanks to the 3 months training, Omega Sceptile was able to win ninjas and pass the preliminaries. Next to the parents of the Ever Grande Conference, where it's 3 wins where the trainers must win and enter the qualifying round. And most all battles will be a double battle. Now Omega won't be battling against Ash, Tyson, or even Ash's newer friend, Morrison. Instead, his first battle is none other than Brendan from Little Root Town, and his 2 official Pokemon, Aggron and Shiftry, while Omega called out his own Pokemon, Camelot and Snorlax. In this battle, Omega's Pokemon had the advantage, with Camelot battling against Brendan and Shiftry, while Omega Snorlax is tanking Brendan Aggron. However, Omega's Camelot lost to Brendan Shiftry, but Snorlax won against Brendan Aggron. Now it's Omega Snorlax against Brendan Shiftry. Unfortunately, Shiftry is faster than Snorlax, so it couldn't land the body slam. But he stayed by Snorlax's move, Yawn, and when Shiftry falls asleep, Omega tells Snorlax to end it with Hyper Spin, winning the battle, and in Omega's last 2 double battles, entering the final 32. Before that, every trainer has 1 day of rest. Omega then decided to switch out his Snorlax for Absol. With that day passed, Omega goes to battle again in the top 32, against Katie, but just like in the original anime, she lost in the story. Katie will lose to Omega with Wolverine against his Sceptile on the ice field. Now for the top 16. Omega must battle against Ash's new friend Morrison. However, Morrison didn't hold back unlike Ash's battle and gave it all with his team he had. But Morrison lost in the final battle with his Mid-Tank against Omega's Absol. Since Morrison's out, Ash is going to battle against none other than Omega. And for those who don't know, in the original list, Ash loses in the top 8. So, Omega's battle won't affect Ash in this alternate universe. Now, you probably just say Omega's gonna beat Ash in this battle, and he did. But now you think Omega's gonna win the Ever Grande Conference, but instead lose to Tyson, so Omega beats in the top 4. So, like in the anime, Tyson wins the Ever Grande Conference. So, with that out of the way, let's start Omega's journey in the battle frontier. As you know, everyone went their own separate ways, and Ash and Omega, they both went to Palatown together. Whilst passing Viridian City, they seen the rebuilt Viridian Gym, and then met with Scott, as well as helping Agrafar, who was the temporary gym leader of Viridian Gym. Once Ash and Omega told Agrafar about the places they got in the Ever Grande Conference, Agrafar asked for a friendly battle against them. Both of them said yes, and Scott became their referee in their battle. Just like in the anime, Ash and his Pikachu went up against Agrafar and her Gengar, and lost. But in Omega's battle, Agrafar called out Arbok, while Omega called out Gardevoir, and thanks to the 3 months training, was able to win against Agrafar's Arbok. Once the battle was over, as well as knowing Agrafar was one of the Elite Four, they went outside and Scott told the 2 trainers about the battle frontier. So after knowing about the battle frontier, discovered with Team Rocket, Omega and Ash arrived in Palatown. After meeting up with all their Pokemon, telling the battle frontier along with the Pokemon contest in Kanto, as well as discover with Team Rocket. But before leaving, Omega decides to mix up his team ready for the battle frontier. So in his team he has Sceptile, Rhydon, Typhlosion, Gengar, Gyarados, and Aerodactyl. Now, Omega went with Ash along with Max, May, Misty, and even Brock until they parted way with Misty in Cerulean City. And the first facility is none other than the Battle Factory located near Cerulean City, and the Battle Frontier Brain, Nolan, as well as his friend Articuno. In this battle, instead of a random Pokemon battle, Nolan has a large variety and the challenger can then choose which Pokemon he can use. After looking at Nolan's Pokemon, the one Pokemon Omega would like to battle is his Rhydon. And what Omega Pokemon will be is none other than his Rhydon, for a one-on-one Rhydon battle. So after the battle with Ash's Charizard against Articuno, as well as the introduction by Team Rocket, at the start of the battle, Ash received his first frontier symbol from Nolan. And after that, it was now Omega's battle. Omega's battle started with two Rhydons clashing each other, and surprisingly, Nolan Rhydon lost to Omega's Rhydon, giving Omega the knowledge symbol. Now, instead of following Ash and his friends, Omega decided to went his own way in the Frontier Brain, so they went their own separate ways again. So Omega went to Sapphire City to battle against the second Frontier Brain, Greta. But before battling against her, Omega switched out his team ready for Greta, thanks for Scott telling him in Sapphire City's Pokemon Center. And since Greta uses mostly fighting type Pokemon, he decided to switch out Rhydon for Heracross. As soon as Omega met with Greta at the battle arena, before the battle begins, a rotation decides whatever the battle would be fought, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, or 3-on-3. For Omega, is a 3-on-3. Now we know that Greta is mostly used Hariyama, Medicham, but for Omega, she'll be also using her Heracross. For Omega, he'll be using Gyarados, Gengar, and Heracross. The battle was started with Greta's Hariyama against Omega's Gyarados, and thanks to Gyarados being a flying type, and still knowing Dragon Dance, was able to win against Greta's Hariyama. Greta again called out a Medicham, but since Greta's Medicham knows Ice Punch, was able to take down Omega's Gyarados. Omega then called out his Gengar. Now even Medicham is a Psychic type, it's also a fighting type. But Gengar has a little secret weapon, which is his new move from Professor Oak's laboratory, and that new move is Will-O-Wisp. Gengar's new move was able to burn Greta's Medicham, after landing a Nightshade and finishing off with a Shadow Punch, was able to win the battle. Now for Greta's final Pokemon is none other than Heracross. However, Greta's Heracross managed to dodge Omega's Gengar's attacks, and then finish it off with a powerful Mega Horn. Seeing how powerful Greta's Heracross was, Omega was about to back down. But then, his Heracross assures him that they were going to win this match. As soon as the battle started, the two Heracrosses battled each other out with Mega Horns. However, Greta's Heracross pushed Omega's Heracross back into a corner, but Omega's Heracross finished it off with a powerful counter attack. With Omega winning the battle, he received from Greta the Gut symbol. Now after healing his team, he decided to switch his team ready for the next Frontier Brain. So he switched out Gyarados for Espeon and Heracross for Snorlax. Once he arrived at the Battle Dome near Lavender Town, an eager crowd of journalists wanted to meet the new challenger. Omega was ready to battle against the Frontier Brain Tucker. Tucker's battle was a double battle against his Swampert and Arcanine. Now before the battle started, Omega did have a choice to switch out his Pokemon, but instead used the ones he got. And the two Pokemon he'll be using is Espeon and Snorlax. Once the battle started, Snorlax became Espeon's shield, and Espeon, knowing Attract, was able to attract Swampert but not Arcanine. By doing that, Tucker can't do any combination moves against Omega, and with Espeon knowing Psybeam and Snorlax's Hyper Beam, was able to win against Tucker, receiving Omega the Tactic symbol. Once Omega healed his team, he decided to switch out his team once more, ready for the next Frontier Brain, so he switched out Espeon for Ampharos. Once Omega arrived at Future City, he located the Battle Pike to battle against Queen Lucy. Just like in the anime, it's a 2-on-2, and the battle started off with Lucy and a Seviper, while Omega called out Sceptile. However, when the battle started, Omega was surprised that Lucy's Seviper knows Flamethrower. While it did some damage to Omega's set tile, it managed to stay in the battle. But since their battle is a grass and water field, Omega decided to use the Viper's flamethrower to target the water to make a steam. Lucky for him, it worked, and Omega was able to counter it with set tile's new move known as Fury Cutter. But Lucy then called out her second Pokemon, Milotic. While it looked like Omega had the advantage because Milotic is a water type, it managed to defeat Omega's Viper with a single Hydro Pump. Omega then called out his most powerful electric type Ampharos in the fight. Milotic did deal several damage to Ampharos, but Ampharos won after using Thunder Punch. After the battle was over, Lucy gave Omega the luck symbol. Before leaving, he decided to heal his team and switch out Ampharos for Sapphire. However, Scott told Omega that the next frontier brain is located in Metallica Island. But since it's on an island, Omega decided to call out its Aerodactyl and fly him over there. At first, Aerodactyl didn't want to because he didn't battle in the frontier brains, but Omega promised that he can battle the one that's coming. With that, Omega Aerodactyl flew Omega to the Cannibal Islands, and then after resting over there at the night, Aerodactyl flew Omega to the Metallica Island, where Omega meet with the next frontier brain, Spencer. Now Spencer's battle is a 3-on-3, but the whole island is his battlefield, so Omega is glad that he can keep this promise to his Pokemon. Spencer called out his first Pokemon, Crobat, while Omega called out Aerodactyl, surprising Spencer with Omega's living fossil Pokemon. Once the battle started, the two Pokemon clashed in the air, while the two trainers tailed them behind while running. And with Aerodactyl being a part drop type, was able to take down Spencer's Crobat with Agent Power. Spencer called back his Crobat and called out his Venusaur, while Omega did the same thing and called back his Aerodactyl and called out his Sapphire. While Omega's Sapphire struggled with Spencer's Venusaur, it did manage to deal some damage. However, Omega's Sapphire was defeated by Spencer's Venusaur. Omega then called back his Sapphire and called out his trump card, Typhlosion. But instead of attacking immediately, he tells his Typhlosion to head to the beach. Unknown to Spencer and his Venusaur, Spencer tells his Venusaur to attack using Razor Leaf, but Typhlosion, running on 4 legs, was able to dodge Venusaur's Razor Leaf. Once they arrived at the beach, Spencer asked Omega why they head to the beach. Omega says he's gonna turn the heat up on the battlefield, so he doesn't want to hit any of the trees to catch on fire. Spencer was surprised about Omega's response and laughed, saying that Omega was too compassionate. With that over, the battle resumes. Omega tells his Typhlosion to fire an iconic flamethrower, doing massive damage to Spencer's Venusaur, then finally ended it with a Fire Blast. Spencer then called back his Venusaur and called out his Claydol, but Omega then called back his Typhlosion and continued on with the battle. But Spencer asked why he didn't call back his Typhlosion. Omega surprised Spencer that his Typhlosion knows Earthquake, shocking Spencer and his Claydol. Spencer then tells his Claydol to attack back with Psybeam, but that blast made Typhlosion confused, and then Spencer tells his Claydol to finish off with a combo of Sandstorm and Rapid Spin, taking down Omega's Typhlosion. Omega, with only one Pokemon left, called out his Aerodactyl, but thanks to Aerodactyl being a flying type, was able to easily dodge Cypher's Claydol's attacks. However, Spencer's Claydol still has one more trick up his sleeve, and that is Teleport. But Aerodactyl didn't give up and finished Spencer's Claydol with a new move, Iron Tail. With that one Iron Tail, Spencer's Claydol was unable to battle, meaning Omega wins and received from Spencer the Spirit Symbol. Omega then flew with Aerodactyl to Sinnoh Island to be healed, as well as his team. Then he flew to Community Town on Aerodactyl, where the next frontier lives. While staying at Community Town Pokemon Center, he decided to switch his team once again, since he doesn't know what the frontier might be. So he decided to switch out his Pokemon, Aerodactyl for Tyranitar, Cypher for Camelot, Gengar for Absol, and Typhlosion for Quagsire. Feeling that he's ready, he went to the Battle Tower to face off his toughest opponent, Annabelle. Annabelle's first Pokemon is none other than Alakazam, while Omega called out his Tyranitar. And thanks to Tyranitar, when it's called to battle, his ability to activate, Sandstream, starts making the battlefield into a sandstorm. While Annabelle has the advantage by sharing a particular strong bond with her Pokemon, by doing that she was able to command them telepathically without voice command. But Omega knows the scene very well, and has battled so many trainers. Even though he has the ability to command his Pokemon telepathically, he knows how they feel. By doing that, he was able to win against Annabelle's Alakazam. Annabelle then called out a second Pokemon, Metagross. However, since Omega's Tyranitar was still weakened by Annabelle's Alakazam, was defeated by Metagross with a Meteor Smash. Omega called back his Tyranitar and called out his Camerupt. While Annabelle Metagross was able to live Omega's Camerupt, she had no idea that Omega's Camerupt eruption was able to hit her Metagross. Then, Annabelle Metagross fired a Hyper Beam, but Omega's Camerupt charged through it by using Double Edge, then finished it off with a close range Double Edge. After that Double Edge, the Sandstorm by Omega's Tyranitar ended. Annabelle's final Pokemon is none other than Espeon. However, Omega's Camerupt is hurt from charging through the Hyper Beam with Double Edge. With that, was able to be knocked out by Espeon's Zap Cannon. Omega can only use one Pokemon left, and that Pokemon is none other than Absol. Omega tells Absol to use Sword Dance twice to power up its moves, and by doing that, Absol was able to knock back Annabelle's Espeon, and was able to cut through Espeon's Zap Cannon with his new move, Razor Wind. In the end, was able to win the bench battle with a Bite Attack, earning Omega the ability symbol. Now that Omega has all 6 symbols, was able to go and battle against the Final Frontier. However, Scott told Omega that the Final Frontier brain is very busy, but Scott told Omega that he should go training in Sinnoh Valley and do some training there with his Pokemon. Omega accepted of her and head to Sinnoh Valley. Omega arrived at Sinnoh Valley as well as meet a fangirl Nurse Joy, who is a fan of both Pokemon battles and contests. Omega then started training in Sinnoh Valley as well as resting there at the Pokemon Center. While resting there, Scott came by and told Omega about the Final Frontiers that he had a message from him. He said he would like to do a full 6-on-6 battle. After hearing that, Omega decided on what 6 Pokemon she should choose. To keep his mind cool, he watched the Kanto Grand Festival on TV, with Nurse Joy from Sinnoh Valley watching beside him. But once the Kanto's Grand Festival was over, a huge pyramid landed there at the Pokemon Center. There, Omega encountered Brandon the Pyramid King. Brandon said he knows who Omega is, and he wants to see if he's worthy of his Frontier symbol. With those words, Omega decided to get ready. 3 days went by, and Omega still hadn't decided what to use against Brandon, until Omega met with Ash and his friends at the Pokemon Center. After watching Ash and Brandon's battle with Brandon using Registeel, seeing how strong he is, Omega decided that he needed to go all out. After deciding that, he decided to pick 2 Pokemon from each region, 2 from Hoenn, 2 for Johto, and 2 for Kanto. From Hoenn he chose Walrein and Aggron. From Johto it's Tyranitar and Espeon, and his final Pokemon from Kanto is Jolteon. As for the last one, it isn't at Oak's lab, so we must wait for him to come. But after another scuffle with Team Rocket when stealing on the Pokésitter's Pokemon they were looking after, before they flew away in their balloon, a blast of fire attacked Team Rocket's balloon, and who might fire that fire is none other than Omega's Charizard, firing another flamethrower alongside Ash's Pikachu and sending Team Rocket blasting off. After saying goodbye to the Pokésitter and the Pokemon he was looking after, we heard that Brandon is coming back. While Ash would like to battle against Brandon, Omega has asked Ash if he was alright to battle against Brandon since he has ever battled him. While Ash didn't like that, his friend said it might be a good idea to chance to see what kind of Pokemon Brandon has. After hearing that, Ash agreed, but tells Omega to win. Still when lots of time left before Brandon comes, Omega decides to reconnect his Pokemon in the mountains. After setting up camp and reconnecting with his chosen Pokemon to face Brandon, after 3 days of reconnecting with his team, it was finally day to face off Brandon on a full 6-on-6 battle. Brandon wasted no time and called out his Regirock, while Omega called out his Walrein. While Regirock's iron defense is indeed good, there was no match against Walrein's new move, Surf. But Brandon's Regirock counters the second Surf with Shockwave, damaging Omega's riding Walrein. Regirock then attacked with Ancient Power, but Omega decides to end this with Walrein's newest move, known as Sheer Cold. Taking out Brandon's Regirock, both trainers called back their Pokemon back to the Pokeballs for their replacements. For Brandon it's Dusclops. As for Omega, he called out his Jolteon. As soon as the battle started, both of their attacks clashed, with Omega's Jolteon's Thunderbolt and Dusclops' Will-O-Wisp. But as soon as that was done, Brandon's Dusclops fired a Shadow Punch. However, thanks to Jolteon's speed, was able to miss by jumping in the air. Omega's Jolteon then fired the Thunder Wave. Thanks to that, Brandon's Dusclops was paralyzed. Not giving Brandon's Dusclops a chance, Omega tells his Jolteon to end it with Thunder. In the end, Brandon's Dusclops was defeated. both trainers called back their Pokemon once again for their replacement. For Brandon, it's his Registeel, but for Omega, he called out his Aggron. As soon as the referee started the battle, Omega tells Aggron to charge. Brendan tells his Registeel to use Iron Claw, but Omega tells his Aggron to use Double Edge. And since Double Edge is stronger than Metal Claw, Aggron was able to do some damage to Registeel. Brendan spoke up and told Omega that was a reckless move. Omega then told Brandon to look at his Aggron, and then Brendan looked and Aggron was completely fine. Ash and the others while standing in the podium asked why Aggron didn't take any damage from Double Edge. Brock said he must have had the ability Rockhead. Omega agreed with Brock and told him that they found out while they were training in the mountains, but the battle wasn't over yet. Omega told Aggron to use Earthquake, dealing more damage to Registeel. Then Aggron finished Registeel with another Double Edge. In the end, Omega's Aggron was able to take down Brendan's Registeel. Brendan then called back his Registeel, while Omega called back his Aggron. Brendan then called out his fourth Pokemon, Solrock, while Omega called out his Walrein. Still tired from the fight against Regirock, Omega's Walrein only did a little bit of damage to Solrock. Then, Brandon then told his Solrock to attack Omega's Walrein with Psyway, and as luck had it for Brendan, Walrein got confused. Brendan then told Solrock to charge up a Solar Beam, ending Omega's Walrein with one strike. Omega then called back his Walrein, and called out his second most powerful Pokemon, Tyranitar. And when Tyranitar is summoned to the field, his ability activates, making the battlefield into a sandstorm. Omega's Tyranitar made the first move and fired the Dark Pulse, and then ended it with Crunch, defeating Brendan's Solrock. Brendan then called back his Solrock and called out his Ninjas. Unfortunately, due to the sandstorm, Ninjas can't able to see Omega's Tyranitar. Omega's Tyranitar, having the advantage with the sandstorm, attacked Ninja with a powerful Dark Pulse and then ending it with Rock Slide. Now that Brendan only has one Pokemon left, and it's none other than Regice. But thanks to Omega's Tyranitar's ability, Sandstream, the sandstorm's still going. But Brendan's Regice takes out the sandstorm by using a powerful Blizzard, surprising both Omega and Tyranitar. But to be more surprised, Omega's Tyranitar got frozen by Regice's Blizzard. Brendan then told his Regice to end Tyranitar with a powerful Focus Punch. With that one Focus Punch, Tyranitar was unable to battle. Omega is now back into a corner. Jolteon's not the best match against Regice, and even though he still got Aggron, who is a Rock and Steel type, might be not able to withstand against Regice's Focus Punch. But Omega still has Espeon. However, he doesn't know if Espeon might be enough to take down Regice. There was only one Pokemon that Omega can use. Omega's still got one more Pokemon left, and he knows he can win this. Omega then throws out his last Pokemon, Charizard. Of course, Omega's Charizard was in Charizard Valley for a very long time, and during that time, he was able to learn some new moves. One of them is Sword Dance, which increases attack power. After dodging Regice's Blizzard in the air, Omega tells his Charizard to do another Sword Dance, which increases the power even more. But Regice fires an Ice Beam, but Omega's Charizard countered it with a Flamethrower, overpowering Regice's Ice Beam, dealing damage to Regice. Then, Omega tells his Charizard to do one more Sword Dance, increasing the power even further. Then attacks Brendan's Regice with a 3x power Fire Blast. While doing some damage to Brendan's Regice, it didn't end it. Omega then tells his Charizard to end this with his newest move, Blast Burn, not only dealing damage to Regice, but also scorching the battlefield. After the smoke clears, Regice was unable to battle, making Omega the victor. Now that Omega has conquered all the battle facilities, making his name in the Battle Frontier Hall of Fame. But most of all, Omega can be a Frontier Brain, if he wants. While Omega wanted to be a Frontier Brain, he declined Scott's offer because he wants to see the world to battle more trainers and maybe one day meet a trainer that's stronger than he is. While Scott understands Omega has a place in the Frontier Brain, if he wishes. Omega then called out his Charizard and thanks him for battling and showing how strong he is. Omega gives one more hug to Charizard and then flies off back to Charizard Valley. Now it was Ash's turn, but he needs to wait until some of Brandon's Pokemon are being healed, and it's just like happened in the anime. Ash reunites with Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and his Charizard, and just like in the anime, Ash reconnects with his 4 Pokemon, as well as get another scuffle with Team Rocket, battle against Brandon in the Battle Pyramid, and won, conquered the Battle Facility, but declined being a Frontier Brain. After saying goodbye to his 3 Pokemon, Omega decided to follow Ash and his friends. Now everything follows like in the anime in Terracotta Town. May Combustion evolves into Blaziken, Ash and May had their Pokemon contest battle, and of course it's a draw. After saying goodbye to May and Max, Omega and Ash part ways with Brock and meet up with Gary Oak, whose Pokemon is getting stealed by Team Rocket Trio, but Gary Oak's Pokemon Electivire blasts off Team Rocket. After a welcome home surprise, Ash has a battle with Gary Oak and his Electivire. As for Omega, he watched the battle, and just like in the anime, Ash lost to Gary. While Omega goes back home in his house, Omega told his family right away that he's going to Sinnoh. After one day of rest, the next morning, Omega stands right next to Ash outside of his house, alongside Professor Oak, Tracy, Danielle Ketchum, and Omega's family, as well as Omega's and Ash's Pokemon from the Hoenn region. And Professor Oak gave Omega and Ash 2 Pokedexes, 1 for each, for the Sinnoh region. But Omega's Pokedex has a special feature. He can transfer Pokemon to Professor Oak's lab by using the Pokedex. While Omega realized he had to have a Pokemon for his journey, he was going to pick one of the Hoenn Pokemon from his journey. But from a distance, he hears a cry, and it was none other than his Murkrow and his Roselia. After meeting his Roselia and Murkrow, he realized he never even battled them before. So, Omega first apologized to his Roselia and Murkrow, and tells them both that they're coming with him. The 2 Pokemon were happy that we're both going with Omega. Before leaving, Oak then told Omega and Ash that they should meet with Professor Roland in Sandgem Town. After receiving their tickets and final goodbyes, they went off to the Sinnoh region. And with that concludes my story of my character's adventures in the Hoenn region. And let me just say, it was fun to do my Pokemon anime journey again. It was just happy to get the imagination if I was in the Pokemon anime. Now I'm going to answer some questions like why my character didn't win the Ever Grande Conference, even though he's got some of the best Pokemon in the Hoenn region. Again, I want my character to go even further. Even though he won the Kanto lead and now the Battle Frontier, there are still more Pokemon to flee, as well as more battles to win. Because now on the next story, the 2 Pokemon that are now going to be on the next journey can evolve into a higher evolution. So the reason why I never picked Murkrow and Roselia in the stories until now was waiting until the perfect moment for them to evolve. Along with 2 more evolutions on the next story. And bringing back some Pokemon that have been forgotten by their debut episodes, as well as some of my favorite Pokemons in the series. Maybe even make a rival for my character, and maybe some special events, I don't know, whatever I have in mind of this Pokemon story universe. Now for some serious questions. First, you're going to catch the Dawn fandom story. Yeah, I could, but I would feel like I'm copying Ash's Pokemon, but all I wanted was Sceptile, not a full team of 3 starter Pokemon. Or 2 starter Pokemon, just 1 starter and that's it. And secondly, why didn't you tell us more detail in the Ever Grande Conference? While I would like to tell you the full 6-on-6 battle, I also want to tell my trainer story over with and go to the Battle Frontier. Thirdly, why did you make your trainer battle against Morrison, Ash, and then Tyson? Well, in the original anime, Morrison loses in the top 16, while Ash loses in the top 8. But I decided to let Tyson win so my trainer can continue on the journey and lead to the Battle Frontier. And finally, why didn't you stick with Ash and the others instead of parting ways at the Battle Factory? While I wouldn't mind my trainer's story following Ash's story, I would just feel like it would slow down May's Pokemon contests. Now for my favorite part, my Pokemon and their moves. Walrein, who knows Aurora Beam, Body Slam, Water Pulse, and Ice Beam. But after 3 months of training, we're able to get Body Slam for Serve, and during the Ever Grande Conference, I forgot Aurora Beam for sheer cold. Now, of course, is Snorlax, who knows Yawn, Hyper Beam, Body Slam, and Rest. But during the training, he forgot Rest for to Protect. Now it's Omega's Absol, who knows Sword Dance, Flight Attack, Bite, and Quick Attack. but forget Flamed Attack to learn Razorlin at the 3 months of training. Next is Camelot, who knows Rock Slide, Rest, Eruption, and Earthquake, but during the Ever Grande Conference, like Walrein, it forgot Rock Slide for Double Edge. And now it's Aggron, who moves on Metal Sound, Iron Defense, Earthquake, and Metal Core. After reconnecting in the mountains, it forgot Iron Defense to learn Double Edge. Now for the comebacks of Omega's Pokemon. Let's start with Heracross, who moves a Horn Attack, Counter, Close Combat, and Brick Break. However, when it returns, he forgot Close Combat for Mega Horn. Gengar's moves are Nightshade, Shadow Punch, Shadow Ball, and Confuse Ray, but forgot Shadow Ball to learn Will-O-Wisp. Aerodactyl's moves are Takedown, Ancient Power, Scary Face, and Hyper Beam. But during the battle against Spectre's Claydol, Omega's Aerodactyl forgot Scary Face to learn Iron Tail. Next is Omega's boy Charizard. Now his moves are Flamethrower, Fire Blast, but his new moves is Burst Burn and Sword Dance. But next time Omega's Charizard will come back even stronger. Unfortunately, Cypher, Typhlosion, Espeon, Ampharos, and Jolteon doesn't learn any new moves. Not yet anyway. If you have any questions about the story, let me know in the comments below. This is Omega Emperor, stay awesome.